The silence came first. Meridian Colony stopped transmitting on a Tuesday. 300,000 voices. Gone in an instant. Command told everyone it was a communications failure. They were lying. By Friday, New Horizon went dark. Then Galileo Station. Then Freetown. Captain Sarachin stood on the bridge of the UHSF Defiant, watching the tactical display update with each new loss. Red markers spread across the star map like a disease. 16 colonies. For million souls. All silent. How long until they reach Earth? She asked. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Marcus Webb, didn't look up from his console. His hands moved across the holographic interface with practiced precision. At current speed, 72 hours. 72 hours. 3 days until humanity's homeworld faced an enemy that had never been defeated. An enemy that didn't negotiate, didn't take prisoners, didn't leave survivors. The Kroth Dominion. Chin had studied every fragment of intelligence they'd gathered. The Kroth didn't just conquer worlds, they sterilized them. Their ships appeared without warning, unleashed hell, and moved on. In 3 centuries, they destroyed 47 civilizations. Humanity was 48. Captain, we're receiving a distress signal, Webb announced. It's the colony's ship Promise. They're under attack. Chen's jaw tightened. The Promise carried 15,000 civilians. Families, children, scientists fleeing the frontier. Distance? 2 light hours. We can reach them in 90 minutes if we push the engines. She didn't hesitate. All hands to battle stations. Navigation, plot an intercept course. Maximum burn. The Defiant was a beast of a ship. 500 meters of reinforced titanium and composite armor, bristling with railguns, missile batteries, and experimental plasma cannons. She carried a crew of 800, the best humanity had to offer, but they'd never faced a Kroth. Nobody had and lived to tell about it. As the Defiant accelerated, Jim pulled up the footage from Meridian. The Kroth warships looked organic, almost alive, massive things that pulsed with purple energy. Their weapons tore through shields like paper and melted hull plating in seconds. The few human ships that had engaged them barely lasted minutes. Captain, we're approaching the Promise's last known position, Webb reported. Sensors are picking up debris. Lots of it. Chun felt her stomach drop. Survivors. Scanning now. A pause. I'm reading life signs. Escape pods. 30 no, 47 pods. Get a lock on them. Prepare for contact. Webb's voice cracked with urgency. 3 Kroth vessels. Bearing 270. Distance. 500 kilometers and closing fast. The bridge lights shifted to red. Alarm klaxons wailed through the corridors. Chin gripped the arms of her command chair and watched the main view screen as 3 massive shapes emerged from the darkness. They were beautiful and terrible. Each Kroth warship dwarfed the Defiant by a factor 10. Their hulls shimmered with an iridescent armor that seemed to shift colors. Energy crackled along their surfaces like captured lightning, and they were moving toward the escape pods. They're targeting the survivors, Webb said, his voice hollow. Chen's mind raced. They couldn't outrun the Kroth. They couldn't outgun them. But those were human beings in those pods. Mothers, fathers, children who'd already watched their ship die. Weapons hot, she ordered. Target the lead vessel. Fire everything we have. The Defiant unleashed hell. Railgun rounds streaked through space at a fraction of light speed. Missiles spiraled toward their targets, their engines burning brilliant white. Plasma bolts carved luminous paths through the void. The Kroth ship absorbed it all. Its shields flared with each impact but held firm. Then it returned fire. The first blast hit the Defiant's forward shields and nearly tore them apart. Consoles exploded across the bridge. Someone screamed. Chun tasted copper in her mouth. She'd bitten her tongue. Shield strength at 40%. Webb shouted over the chaos. Evasive maneuvers. Get us between them and those pods. The Defiant dove and rolled, her engines straining. Another Kroth blast scorched past, so close that you could see the purple energy reflected in the view screen. The ship shuddered. Somewhere below, secondary explosions rippled through the lower decks. Hull breach on Deck 7. Damage control reported. Sealing now. Chun watched the tactical display. The Croft ships were spreading out, trying to flank them. Classic Predator behavior. But something gnawed at her. In every recorded encounter, the Croft had simply obliterated human ships within seconds. Why were they taking their time? Then she understood. They were studying the Defiant, analyzing her weapons, her tactics, her capabilities. The Croft didn't just destroy civilizations. They learned from them first. "They're testing us," she muttered. "Captain?" Webb looked at her, confused. Chin smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "They're testing us. They want to know what we can do before they finish us off." She leaned forward. "Well, let's give them a show they'll never forget. Webb, divert all power from life support to weapons. Reroute emergency reserves to the engines. And charge the experimental zero-point drive." Webb's eyes widened. "Captain, that's never been tested in combat. It could tear the ship apart. So, will they if we don't do something unexpected?" She locked eyes with him. "Do it." Alarms wailed as power systems redlined. The deck vibrated beneath Chen's feet. On the view screen, the Croft ships moved closer, confident in their superiority. They had no idea what was coming. The Defiant's experimental drive core hummed with barely contained energy. Every system on the ship screamed warnings. The bridge lights flickered as power flowed from every non-essential system into the experimental zero-point reactor buried deep in engineering. Chief Engineer Amanda Reeves's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, the ZP drive is charging, but I'm reading massive instabilities. We've got maybe 30 seconds before it either works, or we become a small supernova." 30 seconds is all I need," Chin replied. She watched the 3 Croft vessels converge on the tactical display. They were close now, so close she could see the intricate patterns etched into their hulls. Beautiful executioners, come to study their prey before the killing blow. 15 seconds to firing range, Webb announced. His knuckles were white on his console. They're charging weapons. Chun felt time slow down. She'd read the reports from Meridian, from New Horizon, from every doomed colony. The Krotha's main weapons released a concentrated burst of exotic matter that didn't just destroy ships. It unmade them at a molecular level. Ships hit by that weapon simply ceased to exist. 10 seconds. The escape pods floated behind them, fragile bubbles of life in the darkness. 47 pods. Maybe 700 people. Chun had volunteered for this mission, knowing she might die. They hadn't been given that choice. 5 seconds. ZP drive at maximum charge, Reeves reported. God help us. Fire. The zero-point drive activated. Reality twisted. The Defiant didn't accelerate. It jumped. Space folded around the ship like paper creasing. For a fraction of a second, Chin saw everything. The bridge, the stars, the Croft ships, all overlapping in impossible geometry. Her mind screamed at the wrongness of it. Then they were behind the Croft formation. The sudden transition left the crew disoriented. Chun shook her head, forcing her vision to clear. On the view screen, the 3 Croft vessels were turning confused. They'd been tracking the Defiant in front of them. Now humanity's warship was at their backs. All weapons, fire at will, Chun commanded. The Defiant opened up with everything. But this time, Chun wasn't aiming for the ships themselves. She targeted the space between them. 6 nuclear-tipped missiles streaked forward. The Krotha's point defense system swatted them down effortlessly, detonating them in a cascade of miniature suns. But the missiles were a distraction. While the Croft focused on the obvious threat, the Defiant's railguns fired a spread of specialized rounds, each one carrying an electromagnetic pulse payload. They detonated simultaneously, creating a massive EMP wave that washed over Croft formation. The effect was instantaneous. The shimmering shields on all 3 vessels flickered and died. "Now!" Chin shouted. "Hit them with everything we have left." Plasma cannons roared. The superheated bolts crossed a distance in heartbeats and slammed into exposed hull plating. For the first time in 3 centuries, Croft ships bled. Purple energy vented from ruptures in their organic armor. The lead vessels shuddered and began to list. Warning icons appeared on Webb's tactical display as the Croft ships attempted to restore their shields. "We hurt them," Webb whispered, disbelief coloring his voice. "We actually hurt them." But the victory was short-lived. The Croft responded with terrifying speed. Their ships didn't just turn, they pivoted in place, defying inertia. Weapons that had been dormant suddenly blazed alive across their hulls. "Incoming fire," Webb screamed. The Defiant took 3 direct hits in as many seconds. The first blast sheared through the forward armor and vaporized Deck 3. 70 people died instantly. The second hit punched through the port side, exposing 2 more decks to vacuum. The third struck the engineering section. "We've lost a ZP drive." Reeves shouted over the comm, "Main power is failing." Chun gripped her chair as the ship tumbled. Emergency lights cast everything in blood-red shadows. "Status of the escape pods?" "Still intact," Webb confirmed. "But, Captain, we can't take another hit like that." "Then, we don't let them get another shot." Chen's mind raced. The EMP trick had worked once, but the Croft had adapted. Their shields were already regenerating. In 60 seconds, maybe less, they'd be untouchable again. She pulled up the tactical overlay and studied the Croft ships. Their formation had tightened after the ZP jump surprised them. They were grouping together, protecting each other. It was a defensive posture. "They're afraid," Chen realized. "We made them afraid." "Webb, do we have any torpedoes left?" "For antimatter warheads." "But, Captain, their shields will be fully restored in 40 seconds. "I'm not shooting at their shields." Chen highlighted a point in space between the 3 Croft vessels. "I'm shooting at that." Webb looked at the coordinates and his face went pale. "Captain, that's... You want to detonate antimatter torpedoes in the middle of their formation? The blast wave will hit all 3 ships simultaneously. Even if their shields are up, the kinetic force alone will scatter them. Then we grab those pods and run. And if it doesn't work?" Chen met his gaze. "Then we buy those civilians a few more minutes to get away. Fire the torpedoes." The 4 remaining weapons launched from the Defiant's tubes. They were slower than missiles, easier to track. The Krotha's defensive systems came online immediately, targeting the torpedoes with precise energy beams. 3 torpedoes exploded prematurely, their antimatter payloads contained by emergency safeties. But the 4th one got through. It detonated at the exact center of the Croft formation. Matter met antimatter. The universe screamed. A sphere of pure annihilation expanded outward at near light speed. The 3 Croft vessels caught the blast wave and tumbled like leaves in a hurricane. Their restored shields held, but the sheer kinetic force sent them spinning away from each other. "Tractor beams on those escape pods." Chen ordered. All of them. The Defiant's tractor emitters locked onto the 47 pods and began pulling them toward the ship's hangar bays. It was a painfully slow process. Each second felt like an eternity. On the view screen, the Croft ships were recovering. Stabilizer thrusters fired, correcting their tumbles. They were regrouping. "Pod secured," Webb reported. 23 in Bay 1, 24 in Bay 2. "Get us out of here. Maximum burn toward Earth." The Defiant turned and accelerated. Her damaged engines protested, but they held. Chen watched the Croft ships recede on the tactical display. They weren't pursuing. "They're letting us go," she thought. "Why?" Then she saw it. On the long-range sensors, dozens of new contact appeared. More Croft vessels, jumping into the system. Not 3 ships this time. 30, then 50, then 100. "My God!" Webb breathed. "That's their main fleet." Chen understood. The 3 ships had been scouts. They'd studied the Defiant, analyzed human weapons and tactics, and now they were reporting back to the Armada. She'd saved 700 lives, but she'd given the Croft everything they needed to destroy Earth. "All hands," she broadcast. "This is the captain. What we're about to do has never been attempted. We're going to fly directly into the enemy fleet and allow them to capture us. Our mission is to infiltrate one of their vessels and deploy a biological weapon that could end this war. I won't lie, our chances are slim, but if we succeed, we save Earth. If we fail, we die trying. That's all anyone can ask." She paused, then added softly, "It's been an honor serving with you." The Defiant turned toward the Croth Armada and accelerated. The Defiant drifted toward the Croth Armada with her engines flickering, trailing debris and electromagnetic interference. Every system had been carefully calibrated to appear critically damaged while remaining functional. It was theater on a cosmic scale, and their lives depended on a flawless performance. Chen watched the forward display as the alien fleet grew larger. This close, the Croft vessels were even more terrifying. Their hulls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, communication, she realized, watching the lights ripple from ship to ship in synchronized waves. The entire armada breathed as one organism. "They're scanning us," Webb reported. "Multiple targeting locks. Hold position. Don't return fire. Let them think we're helpless." The bridge crew sat in tense silence. Chun had hand-picked volunteers for this mission. 30 people who understood they might not return. The rest of the crew and all rescued civilians had been evacuated in the remaining escape pods, sent toward Mars Station with orders to warn the outer colonies. Dr. Carr worked at a science station, monitoring the virus contained in a specially designed delivery mechanism. It looked innocuous, a small metallic sphere no larger than a baseball. Inside that sphere was humanity's last hope. "Captain, 3 Croft vessels are breaking formation," Webb announced. "They're approaching." The ships moved with predatory grace, circling the Defiant like sharks. Chun felt sweat bead on her forehead. If they decided to simply destroy the damaged warship, this ended now. Then something extraordinary happened. One of the Croft vessels opened, not a hangar bay or airlock. The ship's hull simply peeled apart like flower petals, revealing a cavernous interior that glowed with purple bioluminescence. Tendrils of organic material extended toward the Defiant, wrapping around the hull with gentle but irresistible force. "They're pulling us in," Webb said, his voice tight. "Let them. Everyone stay calm." The Defiant was drawn into the Croft vessel's interior. The organic walls closed around them, and Chun felt a deep vibration through the deck, not mechanical, but rhythmic. A heartbeat. They were inside a living creature the size of a small city. "Atmospheric readings," she ordered. "Oxygen-nitrogen mix, breathable but with elevated carbon dioxide. Temperature 23 degrees Celsius. It's... Captain, it's like being inside a lung." The lights on the bridge flickered and died. Emergency power kicked in, casting everything in dim red. Through the view screen, Chun watched smaller organisms, each the size of a car, detach from the walls and approach the Defiant. They moved with purpose, examining the ship's hull with bioluminescent appendages. "They're studying us," Carr whispered, taking samples. "How long until they reach critical systems?" "Minutes, maybe less." Carr held up the virus sphere. "Captain, we need to deploy this now, before they discover we're not as damaged as we appear." Chin nodded. "Webb, take a team. Find the ship's central nervous system and plant that device. Go." Webb grabbed the sphere and gathered 5 crew members. They moved to the airlock, wearing heavy environmental suits. As they cycled through, Chin heard him mutter, "If I die in the belly of an alien space whale, I'm haunting you, Captain." Despite everything, she almost smiled. Alone on the bridge with the remaining crew, Chin watched through helmet cameras as Webb's team navigated the Croft vessel's interior. It was unlike anything humanity had encountered. Corridors weren't built. They were grown, organic tunnels that pulsed with fluid movement. Strange organs lined the walls, serving functions Chin couldn't begin to guess. "This is incredible," Carr breathed, watching the footage. The entire ship is a single organism, but it's structured like a complex ecosystem. "Look, those chamber clusters are probably processing centers, analogous to brain lobes." Webb's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, we're encountering resistance. There are things in here, defense organisms." On the camera feed, Chin saw what he meant. Creature-like entities emerged from the walls, humanoid in shape, but clearly not sentient. Immune responses, she realized. The ship was trying to eliminate the infection. That was Webb's team. "Can you fight through?" she asked. "We're trying." Jackson, cover left. Gunfire echoed to the calm. The defense organisms moved fast, but projectile weapons still worked. Webb's team pushed forward, leaving purple ichor splattered on organic walls. Then the Defiant shuddered. Alert icons blazed across Chen's console. Captain, the Croth are accessing our computer systems. Her communications officer reported. They're downloading everything. Tactical databases, Earth's coordinates, defensive positions. Can you stop them? Negative. They're bypassing our firewalls like they don't exist. Chen made a split-second decision. Purge the databases. All of them. Don't let them take anything useful. Captain, that includes navigation. We won't be able to find our way out. Do it. The officer's fingers flew across his console. Critical data vanished in cascading deletions, but Chen knew it was too late. The Croft had already taken what they needed. They knew exactly where Earth was, exactly how to break through its defenses. Webb's voice cut through her thoughts. Captain, we found it. The central ganglion. It's beautiful. Like a crystal cathedral made of neurons. The camera showed a vast chamber filled with branching neural structures that glowed with inner light. Electrical impulses raced along the branches in mesmerizing patterns. The ship's consciousness made visible. Plant the virus, Chen ordered. Webb approached the central structure. His gloved hands placed a small sphere at the nexus point where thousands of neural pathways converged. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the sphere activated. Microscopic needles extended, puncturing the neural tissue. The virus began to replicate, spreading through the Cross ship's nervous system like wildfire. On Chen's display, she watched the bioluminescent patterns that had been so synchronized begin to stutter and fail. It's working, Carr said. The virus is propagating through their hive network. Every ship connected to this one is being infected. But something was wrong. The Croft vessel convulsed around them. The organic walls contracted violently. An alarm, not mechanical but biological, a shriek that echoed through flesh and bone, reverberated through the structure. They know, Webb shouted. Captain, they know what we did. The defense organisms multiplied, swarming toward Webb's team. On the cameras, Chen watched her people fight desperately, but there were too many. Jackson fell first, overwhelmed. Then Rodriguez. Webb, get out of there. Negative, Captain. Someone needs to make sure the virus takes. Get the Defiant out while you can. That's an order, Lieutenant. Sorry, Captain. I'm staying. His voice softened. It's been an honor. The camera feed went to static. Chun felt something break inside her, but there was no time for grief. The Croft vessel was dying around them, its immune system in chaos. The organic walls that had sealed them and began to spasm and tear. All remaining power to engines, she commanded. Tear us free. The Defiant's engines roared to life. The ship lurched forward, ripping through weakened organic tissue. Purple fluid sprayed across the view screen. For a terrifying moment, they were stuck, trapped in alien flesh. Then they burst free into open space. Behind them, the Croft vessel shuddered. Its bioluminescent patterns flickered erratically, and across the entire armada, the synchronized lights began to fail. Ship after ship fell out of formation, no longer moving as one unified force. The virus worked, Carr whispered. The hive mind is collapsing. But they weren't safe yet. Even disconnected, 137 Croft vessels remained. And they were very, very angry. The Croft armada descended into chaos. Without their hive consciousness, the massive vessels drifted like leviathans, waking from a shared dream into individual nightmares. Ships collided in slow motion, their organic hulls crumpling against each other. Some fired weapons blindly, striking their own kind. The synchronized perfection that had made them unstoppable for 3 centuries shattered in minutes. Chen watched from the Defiance bridge as the infection spread. Dr. Carr's virus raced through the Croft network faster than anyone had predicted, severing the biochemical links that bound them together. Each ship became an island of confused consciousness, unable to coordinate with the others. Captain, we're being hailed. The communications officer reported. It's Earth Defense Command. Admiral Petrov appeared on screen, his expression stunned. Captain Chun, What the hell did you do? The Croft fleet is tearing itself apart. We introduced a biological agent that disrupted their hive network. They're no longer operating as a unified force. Can they recover? Chen looked to Dr. Carr, who shook her head. The virus is self-replicating and adapts to any countermeasures they attempt. They're permanently disconnected. Admiral, the Croft Dominion, as we knew it, no longer exists. Petrov's face showed a mix of relief and disbelief. Then we've won. Not yet, Chen said. The ships are still functional and still hostile. They're just disorganized. We need to press the advantage while we have it. She pulled up the tactical display. The Croft vessels were scattered across the system, some limping away, others still trying to regroup. But without their unified consciousness, they move with hesitation, second-guessing themselves. Admiral, recall every military vessel we have. It's time to show them what humanity can do when we're not the ones being hunted. Over the next 6 hours, humanity's fleet assembled. 70 warships, everything Earth could muster, formed into battle groups. They were still outnumbered nearly 2-1, but the Crofts' advantage was gone. The predators had become prey. The Defiant led the first strike. Despite her damage, despite losing a third of her crew, the warship's weapons still functioned. Chen targeted a Croft vessel that had separated from the others, limping toward the outer system. All weapons fire. Railgun rounds and plasma bolts hammered the Croft ship. This time, when the weapon struck, there was no coordinated shield response, no instant adaptation. The vessel's defenses flickered inconsistently, and hull breaches vented purple atmosphere into space. The Croft ship tried to return fire, but its aim was erratic. Shots that should have vaporized the Defiant missed by hundreds of meters. It was like watching a master swordsman suddenly forget how to hold a blade. They're confused, Carr observed. Without the hive mind telling them what to do, each ship has to think for itself. They've never had to do that before. Chen felt a grim satisfaction as the Croft vessel's weapons fell silent. It didn't explode. It simply stopped moving dead in space. A hulking corpse of organic technology. Across the system, Earth's fleet engaged the disorganized Croft vessels. The battles were still fierce. Even alone, the alien ships were formidable, but humanity had something the Croft had never faced before. Unpredictability, creativity, the ability to adapt tactics on the fly, because human commanders didn't share a single mind. 3 Croft vessels managed to break away and jump to faster-than-light speeds. Fleeing the system, Chen let them go. Let them return to whatever dark corner of the galaxy they came from. Let them carry the message that humanity couldn't be conquered. 12 hours after the virus deployment, the last Croft vessel in Earth's system surrendered. It didn't broadcast a message. The aliens had no language humanity understood, but its weapons powered down and it stopped moving. A white flag written in stillness. Chen sat in her command chair, feeling the weight of exhaustion settle over her like a physical thing. Around her, the bridge crew cheered, hugging each other, crying with relief. She let them have their moment, but her thoughts were with Webb and the others who didn't make it. 512 crew members had started this mission. 207 remained. Their names would be carved in stone, their sacrifice remembered. Captain, Carr said quietly, what do we do with the Croft ships we've captured? Chen looked at the scientist. What do you recommend? We study them, learn from them. The Croft's biotechnological fusion is centuries beyond our current capabilities. If we can understand it, adapt it. She paused. We could change everything. Medicine, space travel, even artificial intelligence. The knowledge contained in these ships could advance human civilization by generations and weaponize us further. Yes, Carr admitted. That too. But Captain, we can't unknow what we've learned. The question is what we choose to do with that knowledge. Chen nodded slowly. It was a question for philosophers and politicians, not a battle-weary captain. But she knew one thing with certainty. Humanity had crossed a threshold. They'd proven themselves against the galaxy's apex predator. The universe would never look at them the same way again. A priority message interrupted her thoughts. It was Admiral Petrov, and this time he was smiling. Captain Chun, on behalf of Earth and all her colonies, I want to personally thank you. You and your crew saved humanity. We're sending recovery ships to bring the Defiant home. You've earned a rest. Thank you, Admiral. But there's something you should know. Chun pulled up a star map showing the Krotha's territories. Hundreds of systems marked in red. The 3 vessels that escape will return to their empire. When they do, they'll spread the virus throughout the entire Kroth civilization. Within weeks, maybe days, their whole society will collapse. Petrov's smile faded. You're saying we just committed genocide on a galactic scale. I'm saying we did what we had to do to survive. The Kroth gave us no choice. They exterminated 47 civilizations without mercy. We showed them the same mercy they showed everyone else. Chen's voice hardened. None. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Petrov nodded. History will judge us, Captain. But history is written by the survivors. And thanks to you, humanity survived. The transmission ended. Chen stood and walked to the view screen. Earth hung in the distance, blue and green and alive. Somewhere down there, 4 billion people will wake up tomorrow not knowing how close they had come to extinction. They'd go to work, fall in love, raise children, chase dreams. They'd live, and humanity would remember this day. The day they stopped being prey and became something the galaxy had to respect. Fear, even. Dr. Carr joined her at the view screen. Do you think we did the right thing? Chun thought about Webb's last words, about the civilians they'd saved, about Earth still turning beneath them. I think we did the only thing, she finally said, and I'll carry that weight for the rest of my life. The Defiant turned toward home, battered but unbroken. Behind her, captured Kroth vessels drifted in formation, escorted by human warships. Trophies of war, warnings to anyone else who might threaten humanity. In the cargo hold, engineers were already beginning preliminary studies of Kroth technology. In the medical bay, doctors tended to the wounded. In the crew quarters, people mourned their dead and celebrated their survival in equal measure. And on the bridge, Captain Sarachin stood watch as she always had, as she always would, until the Defiant brought them all home. The war was over. Humanity had won. But the real question, what they would become with the knowledge they gained, was only just beginning. The stars waited, and humanity, bloody but undefeated, stared back,